go. And here we are for episode number 30-something of the Ramsey Dewey podcast with Nick. Nick, is your last name Liev? I've only seen it in print. How do you pronounce it?
It's Aliev.
Aliev.
Yeah, it's actually the surname of the president of Azerbaijan right now.
That's a country I've never even heard of.
Yeah, that's those countries nobody ever heard of.
Wait, say that country name one more time.
Azerbaijan.
Oh, I have heard of that. We just pronounce it very differently in America, those few of us who actually know that place exists.
How do you say?
Azerbaijan?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. That's the only way I've ever heard it pronounced. And yeah, I know that's 100% incorrect, but that's how we do it in America. That's how we roll.
Okay, to your defense, I would say that it's hard to pronounce.
Yes, so one more time for my American viewers.
Azerbaijan.
Azerbaijan. Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
So, Nick, you are from the Republic of Georgia, not the U.S. state of Georgia.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Not
knows.
Atlanta, guys. Not Atlanta.
Yeah, there's a country out there called Georgia, not the U.S. state, in the South, for those of you who may be confused.
Right.
And Nick is from there. So tell us a little bit about Georgia. What's that place like, and what brought you here to China?
Well, that was a big journey, actually. Well, Georgia is a small country. It's on the periphery of Asia and Europe. It's the Caucasian Mountains.
Yeah.
That's where it's located, near Caucasian Mountains, and it's a Caucasian region, which is sometimes they.
And that's another term Americans may be confused about. Caucasian, as that term is used in the U.S., simply means a white person, but it's actually a geographic area.
Yeah.
And a specific group of people.
Yeah. And actually, the reason why I read this topic back maybe 10 years ago, the reason why the white people are called Caucasians is because the paleontologist, the guy who was digging the soil and, was try to find something, the origin of humanity, and he found this old in Caucasian region. He found the skulls, and he had the theory that all humanity comes from Caucasian region. That's why maybe the white person. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what it was saying.
Yeah, but he had this theory.
Yeah. So, but he was wrong. So the term state. The theory is no longer there, but now he was wrong, but still he was like, oh, you're white, you're Caucasian, we're going to call you Caucasian, and this term state, but the theory was wrong. So that's why we are like, white people are called
that's
Caucasians.
Always been deeply confusing to me, especially because, my ancestors for thousands of years were basically based in the British Isles. The Celts and the Danes, the Vikings that went over there. And not ethnically Caucasian people at all, and yet I'm constantly called a Caucasian, and my inner voice just screams, no! But nobody cares.
That's the thing. He thought everybody is coming from Caucasian region. That's it.
Yeah. So
I think it's cool to know. At first I read this, I was like, okay, now it makes sense why I'm hearing Caucasian, even though, and I'm like, all right, whatever, Chechnya. People are like, what? But that's Caucasian region, man. That's Dagestan, Chechnya. These countries are from. This is the Caucasian region.
So Nick, are you ethnically Caucasian? Like
my father is Georgian,
okay.
which makes it Caucasian. My mother is actually my father is also a mix of we have blend of nations. Even Germans are in my blood, but mostly Georgians and Russians, and my mother is half Azerbaijani.
Okay.
That's where my surname comes from, and half Russian.
Okay.
So I'm pretty big blend of cultures. That's how Georgia is actually, and was a long time, because there was a Silk Road that went through Georgia, and because our region connected Europe and Asia, there was a lot of trades through our region, and we have the biggest road from Russia, which connects basically the Middle East and the East with the Europe, and that's why we had so many people. Like I was growing with a multicultural in multicultural environment. Like we had
Right.
Persians. We had in my class, for example, we had Armenians, we had Russians, Georgians, Ukrainians. We had minorities from Middle East. A lot of minorities like Iraqis, Kurd, Yazidis. We had Jewish people. We had a lot. Like it was a very big, and everybody somehow was getting along together very well. And we are very few. Like Georgia is a country of 4 million people, and that's
Oh
it.
wow.
It's a small country.
Yeah, that's like a small city in China.
Right. The capital city is 1.5 million.
Yeah.
And it's like a small village. We know each other, you know. And people don't get away with hate breed and stuff like that. If you have something against somebody, you know, it's not accepted. It was not accepted in our society back then, and it's not accepted today as
So
well.
It's like it's a melting pot. Like this is a term we use in America a lot.
Right.
Melting pot. The idea that regardless of what country you come from or your ancestors come from, you're still an American. It's it's all one nation, as the saying goes. But yeah, for a lot of people in the U.S., I think that that American dream often gets sidelined for political reasons.
Well,
But-
in America, it's a little bit different because everybody comes there because of an American dream, or they are searching for a better life. And another thing is that if you are in America and you become American citizen, then you are one nation. We didn't have one nation. The people who are my friends, Azerbaijani, they were Azerbaijani. They were not Georgians, but they lived in Georgia. They had their language, their community, but we were hanging out together, everybody, and everybody. It was. That's why I think in America it's the same. It's just it's more diverse, and because America is bigger, they have bigger communities. In Georgia, they would have like 20 people of Iraqi community. You know, it's not big. It's not big, right? So and you won't be stuck in the environment of 20 people who are from the same or speak the same language as you. You're gonna go talk to whatever Georgian or Armenian or other people. So that's the thing, you know.
Yeah, that's something I see here in Shanghai as well. For example, our friends from the gym from Bosnia and Serbia, which over on that side of the world, there's some serious political rifts going on between those two countries, but ethnically and linguistically, they're about as similar as any two nations can be, because historically they used to be the same country once upon a time.
Yeah.
But bring those folks over to China, and suddenly they start talking to each other.
Right.
Which is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's always like that. I used to live in Ukraine for 7 years. I used to study there, and I was at that time in 2012, I think, the Russia-Ukraine conflict started.
Yeah.
And we left after maybe 2 years or 3 years, and back then it was a lot of hate between Russia and Ukraine.
Oh, really?
It was big.
Oh, that's so interesting. I had no idea.
Same thing in Georgia, because Georgia also, you always suffer, as a small country, you always suffer from the country that is bigger and more powerful.
Yeah.
And we are neighbors of Russia. And
Okay.
I have a lot of Russian friends, and really good friends. And we are really close, we are good. But when you are put in environment when you are in your country or somewhere and everybody around is like, there is a war. There was a war. In Georgia there was a war with Russia, even though we didn't call it war with Russia, but you know how it happens,
Right.
And in Ukraine, there was also basically war with Russia, and it's still going on. It's not as big now, but
Yeah, I
it's
think the actual political term is conflicts.
Yeah, there's conflicts,
to avoid
right?
bringing the whole entire world and all the allies into it.
But of course, I mean, people are dying, and that's the other people reflection, the citizens of that country where it happens, right? And there was a big hate between those two nations, and still to some extent. But when we are outside, when there is no media, when there is no constant news on, oh, this happened and that happened, these people killed this many people, and this happened here, and it's always misinformation everywhere,
Right.
and you cannot be you could try to be like, okay, I'm a Switzerland in this conflict. I'll see you, But anyway, that's environment that matters. So
Right.
when you are dragged outside, you'll be like, hey, we are all people,
Yeah.
2 legs, two hands, and we all like good life. We don't like conflicts, and you realize that, when you sit with them and you talk to them, and they think, and you think that they are, we're alike, right? We're the same.
Yeah.
Even they don't support this thing. You don't support this thing. Nobody supports. That happens because of other reasons, not because of you, and because of these guys hate you and want you to die.
Yeah,
So
it's so interesting. Like, I grew up as a first-generation American. My mother is from England, from northern England, and I grew up in the U.S. And my mom, like many British people of her generation, brought a lot of prejudices, traditional prejudices with her. And as an outsider looking in, these prejudices just seemed very, very strange. For example, the British, at least those of my mother's generation, I have no idea what the political situation is there now. It was basically like the British hate the Irish because of some wars that happened hundreds of years ago. The British hate the Scottish because of wars that happened hundreds of years ago. The British hate the French because of wars that happened hundreds of years ago. The British hate the Germans because of World War II and World War I and 5 other reasons. And they hate everybody else because of this and that and the other that happened. And nobody in America knows about that. Nobody in America cares. They see Europeans and they're like, meh, Europeans. And my mother hated being called a European, like, England is a separate island, she would always say.
Right.
We are not Europeans. And it would just make her so irate. And meanwhile, I'm thinking, you're just a bunch of people with different labels. What's the problem? What's the issue?
Right.
So from the outside, these things seem ridiculous, but when you're there in the thick of it, it definitely becomes very real.
Yeah. Also, people, when I think most of the people like to be proud of anything, and they don't. If they don't have anything to be proud of, they're gonna be proud of their ethnicity or something. It's ridiculous. It's lame. I don't like that, and I think that everybody is equally bad and equally good. Mostly bad if we think about it globally, but but we have good people everywhere. Like there is no nation that you're gonna go and you're gonna say that everybody is bad. Oh, these guys are just horrible, man. I don't know what's wrong with them. No, you're gonna there are some things, cultural things that you might not agree on or agree with in every country because you were raised differently.
Yeah.
And that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But anyway, if we fly to Mars together, which will never happen, I hope.
Probably not in my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, we can go there, but let's take care of our plan first. If we sit together, everybody will be equally hated and equally loved because it doesn't matter.
Oh, man. The theoretical Martians of the future. How is that going to work out, man? How is that going to work out? I'll tell you what, though. If they do colonize Mars, those Martians are going to become a bunch of weaklings. Simply because they lack the gravity of Earth.
Well, if they I don't know. Maybe they will be like supermans over there, because if they find the way to train while they fly to Mars to keep those muscles,
I don't know, zero gravity training though. That's a tough thing.
I don't know. You can just send the impulses, electric impulses, to your.
You can try that, but that doesn't do anything for bone density though. And that's one of the big issues.
You want everything at once, step by step, Ramsey.
One of these days, man. One of these days they'll figure out artificial gravity.
Gravity. Imagine an zero gravity jiu-jitsu.
How
cool that will be.
Zero gravity jiu-jitsu. I've tried to start a conversation with this with my friend Dan Lucard. Unfortunately, he didn't engage with me online. We were chatting on Facebook, and he's one of my favorite jiu-jitsu experts out there. He runs a gym, Brea Jiu-Jitsu, in Brea, California. Shout out to Dan. But he responded with, "That is a topic for another time." I was like, why not now? I want to talk about zero gravity jiu-jitsu. I want the expert opinion.
Think about the phrase, "Don't create space."
Oh, whoa, man.
In space.
In space. And so much of jiu-jitsu is dependent on gravity. Like, if there was no gravity, oh man, I think if you were playing in the gi, that would become so much more important with zero gravity, because then you would have, all those grips to hold on to and all the extra levers and so on. Whereas without the gi, you really are so much more dependent on gravity.
Yeah, except for the chokes or something, triangle choke.
Yeah, anything involving squeezing.
It
generates essentially circular pressure from your own body.
The perfect thing will be rear naked choke in space. I think I definitely see how that works out. I don't see other things working out.
Yeah, a lot of other techniques, like even an armbar. I mean, you could do it, but it's going to be incredibly difficult to pin somebody.
It is.
And this is one of the reasons.
How do you pin to nothing?
Yeah, this is one of the reasons, say, Aikido techniques and traditional Japanese jiu-jitsu techniques from standing are so difficult to pull off against a live resisting opponent who knows a little bit about fighting. It's because the guy's not pinned when you try that standing armbar, and so it's so much easier to slip out.
Right.
Whereas the brilliance of Brazilian jiu-jitsu is pin him on the floor first, use gravity against him so he can't get up, and then break the arm. But zero gravity jiu-jitsu, man, maybe Aikido would work in space.
I don't know. Aikido
or maybe it would just get worse. I don't know.
I don't know. Aikido is the kind of martial arts that you never know where it works, I don't even know. I used to study Aikido for a while.
Right.
Like maybe a year and a half I spent in Aikido. And I still don't know. Does it work or no?
Aikido is one of those things where if you know how to fight, you can take bits and pieces of it and integrate them into your understanding of fighting and find ways to make them work. For example, some basic wrist locks used in Aikido,
right,
that are also taught in many other grappling arts. I'll use them, but they're still going to be fairly low percentage techniques, as opposed to, something we'll see maybe 65% of the time, like a rear naked choke, which is going to be a high percentage technique.
Yeah, the whole idea of using someone else's energy against him is cool, but how do you? I mean, how many years do you need to learn to do that? And will it really work? I don't know. I see boxing working very well against people. I don't see Aikido working very well.
People always say use his energy against him, and I was doing a film study yesterday on Mifune. He was one of the top students of Jigoro Kano, the founder of Judo, which was originally called Kano Jiu-Jitsu. And Mifune, there's this video you can watch of him on YouTube. He's 80 years old, and he's grappling with a bunch of his students, high-level black belts. And again, he's an old man at this point in his life. And they're trying to throw him, and I don't know, maybe they're doing like that respectful thing, like try not to manhandle him too much.
More likely.
Probably.
I think.
But still, Mifune demonstrates some really, really impressive skills. And at first you might think, whoa, this guy's magical. They're trying to throw him, and he just kind of flips over and lands on his feet like a cat. But then if you analyze the principles of what he's doing, it's really very mechanically simple. He's relaxing. He's letting them carry the weight instead of himself carrying the weight. And he's doing that thing everybody talks about, but very few people do, using their energy against him.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting a free ride, basically. And it's really not that hard to do, to be honest. But you have to be able to see it first. You have to see somebody who is a master of this style of movement before you can emulate it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing I can say, Nick, you must use the other guy's power against him. And that means nothing unless I'm able to actually show you how that works in real time. And then you can see it and be like, oh, let me emulate the way you're moving there, and then you can start to copy and figure it out and learn for yourself how to use somebody's energy against them.
Also, you need a lot of time to implement that.
Yeah.
You have to understand this minor body mechanics. I'm not saying you don't have to spend a lot of time to learn other martial arts, but there are certain types of martial arts that you can implement much faster than
Absolutely.
Then it's just a little bit too hard sometimes. Maybe if I have spent 20 years on Aikido, maybe I will be at a good level right now, and our podcast will be totally about Aikido, but no, man, I don't have so much time.
Now, a few things I've found in common with almost everybody who is able to use Aikido techniques successfully is, one, they cross-train in other martial arts, and two, they are physically strong, physically powerful people. Which
that makes sense, yeah.
Kind of spits in the face of what a lot of people tend to believe about Aikido, that it's going to empower a weak, feeble, small person to be able to beat a much larger person. But grip strength really comes into play, especially with wrist locks. It's an uncomfortable truth. A lot of people hate to hear that because they want to hear strength doesn't matter, but grip strength is tremendously important in grappling arts. And the smaller the joint, the more important that grip strength becomes. At least in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything matters.
Yeah.
The balance between everything. You cannot be just just like, I don't do weights, never. I don't do push-ups, I just beat people. No, that won't work out.
Yeah.
Never. Or you cannot be just like, I only do weights. I don't train my kicks and I don't train my grappling and nothing, and I beat people. No. You are strong enough, maybe you will get a couple shots and eat it, and you will be okay because of your body muscles. The shot will not get through, but the first, the second won't, but the fifth eventually get it.
Yeah. This is a really interesting time in combat sports because now it's kind of becoming trendy for non-combat sports athletes to
don't stop
combat
it.
sports athletes. No, I'm not talking about the Paul brothers. Well, I suppose we could factor them into this equation as well, but strength athletes like, say, Thor Bjornsson and Eddie Hall, these strongman competitors, going into boxing, and then we've got like Chad Wesley Smith, who is, an amazing weightlifting coach, powerlifting coach, and former competitor, world champion, and he's competing in Brazilian Jiu-jitsu right now. And I know some other strength athletes going into other combat sports as well, and it's really interesting to see what they're able to do. Steffy Cohen, for example, just started a boxing career. And
how old is he?
I don't know. How old is Steffy Cohen? She's I don't know. She looks young.
It's she.
She.
I don't even know who.
But yeah, she was what is it? What was her sports? Powerlifting. Powerlifting champion. She could deadlift like 600 pounds, something ridiculous like that for a pretty small woman. But she's gone into boxing, and they're experiencing all these various different levels of success. But what's so interesting to me is to think, like, if I had that type of strength and my type of knowledge and experience,
oh man,
that would be deadly. That would be a deadly combination. Whereas, these people with very limited training in combat sports, but extensive professional training in strength training, are able to accomplish a tremendous amount in fairly short amounts of time.
Yeah, I guess because their body is used to be pushed,
Yeah.
And if you are a sportsman, unless you play chess as sports, nothing against chess, but there is only one hand involved and brains. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the strongest part. But I think if you like the guy, I don't remember I forgot his name. He is UFC heavyweight who came from. He had professional NFL career. He was a defender.
Matt Mitrione, was that him?
No. A big guy, heavyweight, and what was his?
Somebody watching this on YouTube is screaming it in the comments below. It was
this.
How can you not know this? You're supposed to be an MMA coach.
Yeah, but anyway, and he's pretty successful, and he spent like maybe 2 years building up his MMA career, and he started competing professionally after a year or a year and a half.
Yeah.
And he was just a professional football player.
Yeah. There's something to that, and I'll tell you what it is.
Greg Hardy.
Okay.
Greg Hardy.
Okay. What that is, I love training athletes who come from other sports. Here in China, I've had the opportunity to train a lot of rugby players to compete in mixed martial arts, and it's...
Rugby players are really good in martial arts.
They transition so well to MMA, and there are a lot of reasons for that. There's definitely some athletic crossover. Technically, for example, a rugby tackle is very similar to a double leg takedown, for example, but it extends far beyond that. There's mental toughness. There's the fact that they're already mentally prepared to get hit. They're used to competing. They're used to the intangibles. Yeah. But more so, you don't have to teach an athlete how to move. Whereas the average person, they come to the gym, they want to take an MMA class, a boxing class, a jiu-jitsu class. You have to spend a lot of time teaching them how to move. For example, the first 30 minutes of every one of my classes, what are we doing, basically? I mean, think about it.
Well, yeah, step.
I call it a warm-up, but yeah.
Step, pivot, step.
Yeah, we're doing basic steps and pivots and tumbling and going through a bunch of simple athletic movements. And those athletic movements, they are techniques. They are techniques you need to know to fight, but it's also the fact that the average person doesn't know how to move. I mean, think about it. The average person who lives in a city, after high school or college, they stop playing sports, they stop playing in general, and they tend to start leading a sedentary lifestyle, and they forget how to move, and they forget how to live in their body. And so you've got to train them all over again. This is how you get up and walk. This is how you turn upside down. This is how you do a cartwheel. This is how you fall down without getting hurt, etc. These things that small children intuitively figure out by themselves. And an athlete, somebody who already competes in a sport, already knows how to move because they're already doing it and they never stopped. And so it's
yeah. For sure.
It's just an accelerated process. You can go straight to this is how you fight part.
Well, yeah, they definitely have big advantage over other people.
Yeah.
And I do agree that now, maybe not nowadays, but generally speaking, we don't do much, like in our daily life, right? Sitting, maybe standing, maybe walking a little bit, but we don't do. You have to get out there and train to.
Maybe I have a point about the Martians. I said before that the future Martian colonists will probably end up being super weaklings because of the gravity. However, because of the gravity, they will be forced to get out there and train every single day so that their bones don't just fade away into dust.
Right.
And so they might end up being a lot healthier than their earthling counterparts who just sit on the couch and eat potato chips all day.
We shall see.
We shall see. This video may not age well in 100 years.
Yeah. Are you still there, Martians?
All right. So we never answered the question of your journey from Georgia to China.
Oh.
How did that work out?
I went to Ukraine and I got majored there. My major actually is aviation, and I have second major that I'm doing now online because of the COVID, and that will be music pedagogy. So I'm basically a music teacher by my major.
Music pedagogy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And the first is a bachelor's degree in aviation, and that's air traffic control.
Right.
But I never did it. I mean,
yeah, this surprised me when you first told me that you had a degree in aviation. I was like, "What? You're a pilot?"
Yeah. No, I definitely knew,
because I knew you as a guitarist.
Yeah, I definitely knew how to operate the plane, because we had to know. Even as an air traffic controller, you have to know that. I mean, we still have it's a university.
So I imagine you have to talk people through it if they.
Yeah. You have to have an understanding of what is going on in cockpit before you go and coordinate them. So the reason why I did not push this career is because I didn't want to go back to Georgia, and I stayed in Ukraine. And in a lot of countries, if you are not a resident of the country, you cannot be an air traffic controller, because that belongs to the government, and you have to speak national language. Even though ICAO languages, there are only 5 languages, and Ukrainian is not a part of it, but still, because it's a governmental thing, you have to. And
what is the official language of Georgia, by the way?
Georgian.
Okay.
Yeah, Georgian. And then, but I was always playing. And I graduated from the music school also back in Georgia.
Okay.
And that was always my thing. Like I was keeping with music, with guitar, and I had a lot of bands. And back then I was playing a lot of metal. So I have plenty of.
Very different from what I've heard you play recently.
Yes. Yeah. I'm too old. Metal hurts my ears. I cannot stand it anymore. Sorry, guys.
Interesting.
Sorry, metalheads. That's it. I still appreciate it, but I mean, it's not.
That makes sense to me, though. That really does.
Yeah. So, and then the crisis started in Ukraine, and we were like, we have to do something, And then we decided to play music abroad, because there is a possibility, you can always search for a contract and just say, okay, bye, as a musician. And we found a proposal in China.
Okay.
And that was our choice. But in China, we spent like 6-7 months going from one city to another, and that was the biggest experience. Even nowadays, when my wife says, "Hey, let's go travel," I'm like, you go, I'll stay. I had it enough. I've seen places. Thank you.
I don't have the same experience as this with my wife. I used to travel all over the place, all over China. The first 2-3 years I was here for fighting, I was, just up and down every city, every site. And my wife didn't really have that experience, so she still has that travel bug, wants to go all over. I'm like, I'd rather just relax this weekend, stay home,
Yeah, same here. I kind of want to go to Sanya, but it's because I just want to go surf. And
it's a nice place.
It's a nice place, but I saw the forecast, and I saw the waves. Like I've seen the videos, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there, because the weather can be not good, for the waves could be not good. It's not like snowboarding. You can, even with the snowboarding, sometimes sometimes there is no snow, sometimes it's too frosty, and but the waves is another beast. They just come and go. You never know. So, and I'm like, and that will be a summer vacation. Imagine people going to Sanya on summer vacation. It will be just like.
For anybody not in the know, Sanya is like the beach resort capital of China.
Yeah, it's Chinese Hawaii. That's what they call.
Warm all year round, beautiful beaches, beachside resorts, etc.
Yeah, I don't know. Surfing wise, I have never been there. I only saw the forecast and the videos. And people of Hawaii, no, we cannot compare this place to Hawaii. I'm sorry, guys from Sanya. I'm sorry. That's the reality. Even with Bali, I mean, my experience in Bali was like, oh, the waves there can be huge, but here it's like just for the beginners maybe.
Yeah. So you're also a surfer.
I started surfing like 10 months ago. No, not 10 months ago. We got stuck in Bali for 10 months. And
yeah, that's right.
We lived there. Yeah, we left just before the pandemic.
Yeah,
And
some of your longtime viewers might remember Nick from some of my old videos at the JX Fight Club, and then he kind of disappeared for a while, and then magically reappeared. So this is Nick's story about what happened there.
We went right couple days before it all cranked.
Yeah.
And I remember us sitting in Malaysia, I think. Or that was even Vietnam, I don't know. We had this
That's also been my entire experience with Malaysia, just sitting there at the airport the whole time.
Yeah, I mean...
Sorry, Malaysians, I haven't seen that much of your country, just the airport.
Yeah, no, we've seen some things, but we spent a lot of time in Kuala Lumpur because we had to teach online. And we just...
Okay.
We were there. And we were reading this news about the COVID-19, and we were like, dude, is it real? Is it real? And then we were like, and then our company started saying and messaging everybody like, guys, come back. China gonna close borders. And we see the numbers. China is blasting, and the rest of the world is like, okay. And we're like, why? We are safer here, you know?
Yeah, that's what everybody thought. Like, get out of China.
Yeah,
I've got so many friends who fled China and then they couldn't get back in. Like, let us back in, please.
Yeah, and some of them are still there.
Yeah.
And and then suddenly, March 20 whatever, 8 or something, they just shut the borders.
Yeah.
And we took a flight from Bali. We were on Bali at that time, and we took a flight via Singapore and Singapore and Taipei.
Okay.
And we went to the airport, and that was the evening flight. The morning flight. Do you know Saulo, the coach of Jiu-jitsu? Yeah.
Saulo Melo, the Jiu-jitsu coach. Yeah.
Saulo flew same day morning.
Oh, really?
Same route. And we went in the evening, and they said sorry. We're closed.
So Saulo made it through
Yes.
like right before you did.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
You
yeah.
missed it by that much.
Yeah. And we're like, I guess I'm gonna be a surfer now. And I bought the longboard, and I started surfing, and it was the best experience in my life. Actually, I don't know if I have to choose martial arts or surfing. It's gonna be a very hard choice for me. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I remember for like what was it, like 8-9 months, almost a year. My only communication with you was like seeing these social media posts of like on a beach.
That's pretty much with everybody.
Paradisiacal location. Like, oh no, I'm stuck here in this tropical paradise. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo.
Yeah, that's how everybody was greeting me here when I came back. I was like, "Hey guys, how you been?" Because I went to chair club, to jam sessions, met with my guys, and everybody was like, "Well, yeah, where have you been?" I was like, "I was stuck on Bali," and then people were like, "You asshole."
Poor you, man. Poor you.
I mean, I didn't choose that. That was a destiny. I don't know. So yeah, that was my experience. And surfing, man, surfers. This is the thing to do. I don't know. It's just so good.
Yeah, my youngest daughter, she took a surfing lesson at a water park. They had this indoor. It's like an indoor wave generator.
Mm-hmm.
And they give surfing lessons. They start with like body surfing or knee surfing or whatever you want to call it, and then graduate eventually up until you can stand on the board. But that was fascinating to see. I don't know anything about surfing at all. I've tried body surfing, and that's about it. So how's the learning curve for surfing? Is that something you had a natural aptitude for? Was it really difficult? What was that
I don't know. Yeah, I would say surfing is pretty difficult. It's because there are a lot of things that it doesn't depend on you.
Yeah.
And you have to learn it. First of all, the ocean is a powerful thing. I didn't realize that until I got into the water. First thing, currents and wind.
Yeah.
This thing can kill you guys, so be very careful.
Yeah.
Because also, I've seen people get dragged by the current. So there is a canal that the surfers use to get the wave, because basically when you have a huge amount of water coming on the surface, right? Then you have a canal for this water to disappear, but you don't see it. It's like it's like a current that goes into the ocean from the beach.
Right.
You cannot see it if you're an amateur, or you cannot see it if you are not a surfer. But if you are a surfer, you can tell right away where this canal is, because the waves are smaller there, and they're like shattered. And you have to use this canal to go to the line up, because if you are fighting the wave, you will never get there. You have to use go straight and then take left or right, depending on where you go into the lineup. If you don't know that, you will get dragged into the open ocean, and bye-bye, and that's it.
Wow.
Sometimes if the waves are too big and you don't know where's the canal, and I've seen with my eyes how big guys get dragged into the breaking point of the big waves, like really big waves, and because they didn't know where is and they start paddling against the canal, and you will never win. You have to go sideways. That's rule number 1. Always go sideways, and then the power of the wave will drag you out of the ocean, but the canal will drag you in. And I've seen the guy just got dragged into the breaking point of these huge waves, and he barely survived. And nobody could help him because they were surfers, but the waves, they come in sets, so there was like set of 7 to 10 waves, really big, and nobody could get in, even though he was waving. He had his surfboard really long.
I think it's really easy to forget how much water weighs.
Oh man,
how much does a liter of water weigh?
I can tell you, it's
a few kilos.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think it depends also of what type of water it is. Is it a salty water or a normal water?
Well, let's just say ocean water, because we're talking about a wave.
No idea.
I'm going to use some.
But
US
it's not.
customary
It's
units,
not 1 kg. It's not 1 kg for sure. It's like there are some calculation for that. I don't know. We have to check.
Yeah, but man, I think, I just had the number in my mind. What is it, like 14 pounds per gallon, 17 pounds per gallon? It's a bunch of pounds per gallon of water. And a single wave is thousands of gallons of water.
Yeah, the thing is not how much water weighs. Maybe that's the thing also, but the power accumulated by the wave when it comes and breaks. And also you have to remember that this thing, the waves, they are not formed in the ocean where you have 6 feet or 10 feet depth. You have like this depth, like maybe 1.5 meters, 2 maybe maximum. It breaks when you don't have a lot of water. So every time you see surfers on the 15 foot wave, imagine there will be like 2 meters above. Well, not above, but below them, and that's it. So if they drop like really, really hard, they can hit. They can bump their head. They can hit their body on the corals. It depends on what is the. And also, I got dragged a couple times by the wave, and I literally felt like in a washing machine, and I could not breathe in because. I was just, I was just spinning inside the wave, and I could not even understand where is the sky and where is the bottom and where I am and where is my surf. You don't
even know which way to swim.
Yeah, you don't know, and you are like, I had this experience a couple times when I caught relatively big wave. I never caught big waves, but maybe 7 foot wave, and this but the power, that what matters. Sometimes 7-foot wave is not as powerful, but sometimes they're really powerful. It depends on how much seconds do they have in between this the wave, and that generates the power. And so I remember myself in the water, thinking like, okay, I'm spinning. I think I have to breathe in now. Okay, I'll try. Nope. Okay, I'll hold on. And that was like 3 times. I was like, maybe now. No, I'm still spinning. And in the end, you start panicking because you still are there moving like that, you know?
Yeah, I'm laughing because this description is kind of reminding me of how I felt during my first professional fight. Like, do I breathe in now? Everything's spinning. What do I do? Oh no, I'm dying.
Yeah. Yeah, it reminds the fight a little bit. Yeah.
So I was just thinking about this parallel because you're so fascinated by surfing and martial arts, and there's this element of danger in both of those.
Right.
How much do you think that element of danger adds to the attractiveness, to the appeal of these sports for you?
Well, I think there is a big part of it. I don't know. I also like extreme things, but I mean, relatively safe extreme things. I would not jump from the bridge.
Yeah.
Without anything, not knowing what's in the water, you know?
That's a great way to describe it. Relatively safe, extreme things.
Yeah, I mean...
That's why people love amusement parks, because they're basically simulated near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Like, you get up on one of those free-fall machines, and it drops you like 100 meters, full speed, you reach terminal velocity, you feel like you're gonna die, but then it slows down at the bottom, you're like, oh, I survived, I'm okay.
Yeah, I think so. That's the best description of amusement park, and I think everybody loves extreme to some extent because it's an endorphin, right? And we as human beings are tend to be addicted to things, and endorphin is one thing that we like to be addicted to. So it's 1 + 1.
Yeah, man. I was just thinking about, like, what would be the antithesis of these extreme sports that can be done relatively safely, like chess? I don't know.
Extreme sports.
For some reason, I've been thinking a lot lately about chess boxing. Are you familiar with that concept?
No.
Okay, the idea is you do chess for a certain time period, and then you go and box for a certain time period, and then you come back and do chess for like a minute or two, and you go box for a minute or two, and this goes on until either somebody has won the game of chess via checkmate, or somebody has won the boxing match via knockout or TKO.
People who came up with this idea were geniuses. I would love to even though I don't know nothing about chess. I would like to watch it.
When I first heard of this idea, I thought, this sounds incredibly stupid because these are such incredibly divergent skill sets. What if you had, like, Bobby Fischer playing chess boxing against Mike Tyson or something like that, back in their prime? What would happen? I mean, Bobby Fischer, as long as they started in chess, could definitely beat Mike Tyson. But if the first round was boxing, ooh, forget about it. Whereas I think most of the actual chess boxing competitors are kind of more jacks of all trades who, you know, train in both boxing and chess, but... We should definitely make a video about this at some point, since we're always boxing anyway, over at the gym. We should definitely try some chess boxing. You down for it, Nick?
Yeah, I will learn how to play chess.
Okay, you gotta learn how to play chess.
Are you going?
Otherwise, this is gonna be a really boring video. I'll just be like, checkmate, Nick. We didn't even make it to the boxing round. Let's go again. Checkmate again.
Yeah, but then if you know how to play chess and you're the better boxer, then I don't have any advantages in this game.
We'll have to try it with a few different people just to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I would be definitely down for that.
Chess boxing, man. It's extreme.
And a little bit of this. A little bit of brain activity.
Brain activity as you're slowly, or in some cases quickly, killing the brain cells with the pugilism.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So you have you have a music album. Album may not be the right word because it's a single, right?
It's a single, yeah. It's gonna be an EP extended play. For now, we're working on it.
Okay, yeah, and I listened to
Takes
some
a
of
lot.
this. This is some really interesting music. I don't even know how I would classify it. It's not jazz. It's not like new age.
Even
what would
I
you call
don't
it?
know how to classify it. I'm having a hard time over it because I have to upload. We have to upload it to different, hubs and stuff. So there would be a question like, "What's your music?"
Yeah, everybody
What's
wants
your
to put a
music
label
style?
on music
Yeah.
because that's how you decide what to listen to, right? Is it jazz? Is it hip hop? Is it rock? What? Even though rock and roll has become a station on the radio.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's hard to say for me what kind of music is it.
It's one of those things you have to listen to.
Yeah, I think maybe we can get some comments about that. Let's see how people label it.
But as a musician, from what I've heard of you, you're mainly a guitar-based musician. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah. My main instrument is a guitar, and it's been a while. I'm playing the guitar, maybe 15 years, but I've been back and forth, like playing, having breaks, playing. But I was working as a professional musician here for a long time, and then I'm teaching right now, and I'm a music teacher.
Yeah.
And but that's interesting that you brought up that, because in this song that you have heard, there is no guitar at all.
Yeah.
So we have in my project, there is a singer, there is a bass player, and there is a drummer. And the bass, it's there. The drums, we're gonna record other songs with the live drums. The vocals are there. I never put any guitars. I was writing everything on piano.
Very interesting choice for a guitarist. No guitars.
Yeah.
Debut album.
Sometimes you have to hold on. just let other instruments do their job. I don't know. So I would definitely have guitar in upcoming albums. Songs, not albums. Hopefully albums, but songs.
Yeah, Joaquin Rodrigo, he did the same thing. You familiar with that guy? He's a Spanish guitarist. He also wrote operas and a lot of classical music as well. He excelled with the classical guitar. He was blind, by the way. And
interesting. Never heard of this guy.
But he also composed a lot of music that had no guitar in it whatsoever. He did a lot of piano composition as well, even though, as far as I'm aware, that wasn't really his instrument of choice. But yeah, that dude absolutely rocked the guitar, though.
Yeah, I mean, where he was from?
Spain.
Well, that's the most guitar part of country in the world. So, I'm not surprised. Spain. If he was doing classical guitar or flamenco guitar, of course.
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, because he wasn't a flamenco guitarist per se, but if you listen to, say, El Concierto de Aranjuez, which is, it's very classical in its style. It definitely has these notes and hints of being influenced by flamenco. So it's cool. I like it.
Yeah, I actually started as a classical musician, but I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I don't think back then when I started, I was like 8 years old or something. And starting at that age with the classical guitar, classical music is not a good choice.
Oh yeah.
There is very few people in this world who like classical music or can appreciate and can understand classical music from very little. It's the same like jazz. You don't, who listens? Go to the jazz bar. What is the average year of birth of the people who are there? It's like what, 1930s? Like this is a little bit more complicated music, and you have to be either very dedicated to music person and
you got to be a big nerd to really love jazz.
Yeah. That's what I say. I mean, I love jazz because I'm a musician.
Yeah, and I don't say that in a pejorative way, because I enjoy jazz, but I know some people who really, really love it. Like, I first heard jazz when I was in high school. Like, actually heard it. I had the high school band teacher. He had a jazz band going on the side that he would he'd get some of the students to show up really early in the morning to participate in, and I heard it for the first time. I was like, I want to do that. I want to make that type of music.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so I joined the jazz band, learned to play the saxophone, and we started going to all these like jazz concerts and jazz competitions and jazz festivals, and I met some people who were just so much more into jazz than I will ever be.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's just like, man, these guys they've got this crazy nerd-like dedication.
Yeah, jazz is pretty complicated style to learn. I mean, I would say not everybody can play jazz. Jazz musician definitely can play almost all styles that exist on planet Earth. But if you are playing all styles that exist on planet Earth, it doesn't mean that you can play jazz, because that's another thing, you know. And the jazz musicians were doing a lot of things back then when the bebop first came out in 40s, and they started using these altered strange scales that other people started calling bebop scales, which is adding one more note and adding dissonant sounds to music, which is, if you like music of, I don't want to offend anybody, but if you're listening to Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift, I mean, that's a simple music. That's 4 chords and that's good music, but you will be terrified by the sounds they are making, right? Just listen to Donna Lee, or listen to, I don't know, John Coltrane, Giant Steps, whatever, and listen to any free jazz. Listen to Coleman Hawkins. Those guys are just
a radically different musical experience.
Yeah. The sounds that they are making.
I had a friend in college who was a music major, and I went to listen to his senior project, and it was like this 1.5 hour long concert of the most dissonant music. He was essentially using music theory and mathematics to challenge perceptions of music, and so he had used music theory and mathematics to create these compositions which were, I don't know how to put it, just technically correct as far as theory goes. And when I listened to it, I remember feeling just absolutely exhausted afterward. Like, that was exhausting to listen to. Yeah. Like, that was work. That felt like physical work to sit through that concert.
Yeah. But you know what? This music made you feel something.
It did.
And
absolutely did.
That's the form of art that makes you feel something.
Like, it wasn't fun, but it's an experience I remember. I have not forgot it. What was it? 25 years later.
Yeah. See. So.
Yeah.
The emotions that matters. You don't have to like it, but you remembered it. So, it did its job. It made a trail in your brain somewhere there. Exactly.
Music is supposed to make us feel things, and I think one of the strongest examples is movies. A lot of times, I saw the new Mortal Kombat movie. I even made a video about it. I don't know if you've seen it.
I've seen it,
but I wanted to see people's reviews, and so I looked up on YouTube what people were saying, and the number one thing that everybody was talking about that surprised me more than anything had nothing to do with the characters or the story. It was the music.
Really?
Everybody said the music was too generic. Like, it didn't make me feel the right feelings. It didn't feel like Mortal Kombat. It felt like it could have been in Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or literally anything.
Well, Harry Potter and Star Wars.
Yeah, that's probably the wrong comparison, because those have pretty iconic
people
soundtracks.
Who were working. We have to consider who were working on those things. John Williams was working on Harry Potter, right? The Star Wars. Danny Elfman was working on a lot of movies that we know. Yeah. Hans Zimmer was working. Those guys are pure geniuses.
They are.
And
I think
they
the point
didn't
they
work
were trying to make was that essentially the music that they chose for Mortal Kombat didn't fit the mood. Like, it would have been better in those other types of films. Whereas, I don't know what they wanted to feel, but they wanted to feel music that made them feel something
everybody
else,
everybody
something
knows
powerful.
what they wanted to hear, right? They wanted to hear Mortal Kombat.
Maybe they just wanted a techno track. Exactly.
Hey, once you have this kind of track, this will never be beaten.
I tell you what, though, when I saw the original Mortal Kombat movie, I was a freshman in college, and some of the guys in my dormitory, we rented the movie, and we're like, let's see this, and we saw it, and I was shocked by the music, because it's all techno.
Yeah.
It's like, that's kind of interesting, because in the game, it's not techno music, but in the movie it was, and it worked. Like, for the type of movie it was, it worked.
Well, also, game is pretty old, right? Techno.
Yeah.
Techno appeared in late 80s, maybe something, maybe beginning of 90s. That's where techno was booming.
Yeah.
So, electronic music in general appeared in maybe 80s.
Yeah.
Late 80s. So yeah, and the first Mortal Kombat was when? Do you
was
know?
it like 1990? I saw it in 1996. I think it came out the previous year, though.
The best Mortal Kombat came out in 1996, and maybe because it was Sega Mega Drive. Yeah, with the blood. They had sued them for the parental advisory.
Oh, the
thing.
Sega Genesis version of Mortal Kombat?
Yes, Sega Genesis, because they had blood in it.
Oh,
and
yeah, they
censored
that out of the Super Nintendo one.
Yeah. And that was 90s. 92 or 93, I think. Well, we have to look it up.
Man, it's so strange that was so controversial back then, that just seeing, like, digital blood splash on the screen was like, no, we can't have that. We can't show that to children. And now nobody cares, and Mortal Kombat is, like, the most G-rated game compared to what we have today.
Yeah. Well, times are changing.
They are, man. They are.
And maybe there is nothing bad about blood on TV.
Well, think
or
about this,
in the
Nick.
Video games.
Here's a theory. My older brother taught me this thought exercise. Okay, imagine you have a crisp, clean, cold, refreshing glass of water in your hand, right there. Okay. And you take a big drink of it, but you don't swallow, okay? And now you spit it back into the glass. Okay, imagine that.
Uh-huh.
All right, you have this glass with your backwash, and you just spat it back out. All right. Now imagine drinking that again.
Yeah.
It's gross, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's gross to picture that.
Yeah.
And it's your own spit. It came from you. It's part of you, right? But it's gross. Why? I'll tell you. Because bodily fluids outside of the body are gross. And nobody wants any part of that. Inside the body, totally fine. Blood in your body, cool. Spit in your mouth, fine. Blood outside the body, suddenly, it's unacceptable.
Yeah. I don't know. That's more. I don't know. We can have the whole conversation on that one, but that could be another topic to discuss, because I don't know. It's still natural thing, right? And people say that a lot of people back then, when we had this wars, Sega over Nintendo and over Atari, and who will, and these parental advisory things, when they started labeling after couple videos, I think that was rock videos. Maybe that was even Twisted Sisters who started the first parental advisory thing ever. Like, have you seen on the CDs they labeled it parental advisory?
Yes, I remember Twisted Sister was involved in testifying before a court of law.
I think that was the thing.
There was another musician that was being sued. I don't remember who it was, but I do remember seeing part of this court case, and Dee Snider from Twisted Sisters stood up and defended this guy as like a character witness in court. It was interesting.
So, and back then people were saying jazz dancing, ballrooms were not appropriate. Like dancing is
the waltzes of the devil. Exactly, man.
Yes.
This was a very common thing.
And then we had what? Punk rock in 90s?
Yeah.
How is that better?
Funny story. So I learned the waltz at Brigham Young University. That's where I went to college, in Provo, Utah. Brigham Young University is a church-owned university owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, named after Brigham Young, who was the second president of the church back in the 1800s. And Brigham Young was a staunch opponent of the waltz. Ballroom dancing in his mind was pure evil. It was of the devil. He expressly told the members of the church, do not succumb to the temptations of the waltz, where your bodies are pressed tightly together. It is demonic. It is bad. It is wrong. And he went on at length about this. But I learned the waltz at Brigham Young University.
How come?
Because it's taught there. Because it's taught there.
So, see, that's the matter of,
Here's another big twist of irony. Brigham Young had a beard. He had a long, wise, glorious, full beard, man. At Brigham Young University, students are not allowed to have beards.
Oh. Makes perfect sense.
Makes perfect sense.
But why? Did they tell you why?
It's part of the dress and grooming standard. I think it had something to do with, like, back in the 60s and 70s with the hippie movement. Beards got like this this bad connotation, like, oh, you're one of them, you're one of those hipster folks. We can't have that in our school.
What, are you against war? Or what?
Exactly. And the standard just persists to this day. And so there's this idea that beard, bad, wrong. And yeah,
and here we are.
Here we are with beards.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny. There's this there's still this perception. I think this persists pretty much all throughout the West. The idea of clean cut, clean shaven. We often associate a shaven face with the word clean.
Yeah.
Like there's something unclean about hair on the face.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe.
There's more surface area. Bacteria definitely can live there.
Yeah.
Beard-borne illnesses.
But then, what about the hair over here? Why is it different?
Why is this clean and this is unclean?
I think if you are in generally clean and you go you shower, then you are okay. Most of the time. I won't say every time, but
historically, though, it just goes back to military fashion, specifically the military fashion of the Romans, who would shave their beards when they fought the barbarians. Barbarian literally means somebody with a beard. The tribes of the north, the Celts, the Gauls, etc. They had beards, so they called them barbarians. And Julius Caesar, in his writings, would sometimes note that the beards of the enemy made it easier to catch them by the beard. And a lot of these guys, like the Celts, the Gauls, for example, would go into battle naked. He would say, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they think it's okay to go into battle with a beard, completely naked. It's so easy to catch them by the beard and just skewer them through their naked bodies. But it was a cultural thing. It was a religious thing for the Celts, the Gauls, this idea that stripping naked, running into battle was both honorable, and it probably worked to a certain extent with other armies besides the Romans who weren't as well trained. I don't know if you've ever seen those prank videos online where the little guy starts messing with the big guy to start a fight, and the big guy is like, okay, I'm gonna fight you, and then the little guy strips off all his clothes and starts running at the big guy, and the big guy's like, and starts screaming, running away. There are a lot of these online. You can see them. They're hilarious. And almost every time the big guy is scared by the little guy stripping off all his clothes and running at him.
Okay, Ramsey, what was the reason of watching this video? What was the cause?
YouTube recommended it to me. YouTube recommended it to me. I blame YouTube.
Never follow YouTube recommendations.
Exactly. Never follow YouTube recommendations.
Yeah. You will end up watching naked guys chasing big guys. Small naked guys.
But there's a lesson there. There's definitely a lesson there. It's like when you strip off the clothes, it shows the certain level of dominance, the certain level of power, the certain level of fearlessness. This you show yourself as a wild human as opposed to a civilized being at that moment.
Maybe,
and that's frightening.
Maybe there is a psychological aspect to it.
I mean, there certainly is. I remember the first time I fought with a shirt off. It was my first professional kickboxing match. Before that, all of my competition was in a martial arts uniform, a dobok or a gi, taekwondo or karate. And I felt naked. I felt exposed. I felt weak.
Oh, really?
Without that uniform on, without that cool little snap when you throw the punches with those sleeves. I don't know if you ever trained in a karate gi or a taekwondo dopak.
Only aikido.
Okay.
Aikido. And I hate gi.
Yeah.
But I had a very different experience.
Okay.
I mean, the first big fight, let's call it this way, happened with you, right?
Yeah.
You were the judge.
Okay. Yeah,
you were
yeah.
the referee. You were the referee. And
so your fight just fairly recently. Nick had a fight.
and
over
I
the Punch Cage Club.
was because Jackie, right? I was fighting the guy.
Scott.
Oh, Scott. Yeah.
Zhang Yu
Yeah.
is his Chinese name, but
Scott was fighting in his t-shirt.
Yeah, Scott had a
But
t-shirt
on. I didn't have any t-shirt on me, and I felt great. I
Yeah.
don't know why. I felt like, okay,
Man, you
that's
looked so composed in that fight. Recently when I've been sparring with you in the gym, you look really solid. You look really, really good out there, but you looked even better in this fight, which is so interesting because most people, on their best day in the gym, they generally perform like 20, 30% less than that in a real fight. But you went to the other extreme, and it was like, as soon as you stepped out there, I was like, dang, Nick's got this.
the reason for it is because I was training more. I dedicated like maybe month and a half to 2 months to exclusively
Yeah.
to striking.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons. Another reason that in the gym I never go hard.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sloppy in the gym when I don't like getting tired too fast, and I just enjoy being sparring. I just enjoy sparring. That's it. And I don't want to punch somebody too hard. I don't want to hurt somebody, and myself also. I hate when people start going full power on each other during the sparring session. I think that's wrong. And
Yeah.
I even had
It's a dumb way to spar.
I even had I got mad at one guy at our gym because I switched to another gym, right? And we had this boxing sparring session, and the guy was and I told him, I was like, yo, I saw him going hard on everybody, and he was a Muay Thai fighter, so he was like swinging his hooks very unprofessional Muay Thai way, but he was a powerful guy. And I was like, very soft, and he was like, okay. And he didn't reply. I think he didn't understand because he was a Chinese guy, and he started going soft, and then I hit him a couple times with very soft punches, and then he started going harder and harder and harder, and in the end I took my helmet. I was like, yo,
Yeah.
what? Like, can I swear in your podcast, by the way?
Go for it.
I was like, what the fuck, man? I just told you, right? And he was like, and the coach was the guy who was speaking English, and he was like, what's going on? And I was like, yo, tell him that if he wants to spar with me, he has to go soft. Otherwise, I'm gonna fuck him up. Like, I was really mad because he understands that I'm hitting him softly. That's not me being lame boxer. I'm not a good boxer, but I definitely have more power than that. I was like, just touching him, jabs.
Yeah.
And he was just going through. And I hate when that, with other people, when I spar and they go hard on me, when I touch them couple first times, they know right away, okay, this guy's going soft. I have to go soft as well. Let's go soft. It's more, you have to train your speed, your technique, It's not about, I don't want to feel sore, and I don't want to break my nose when I spar. Why? It's,
You don't need that kind of brain damage from training.
Right.
But a lot of folks out there, I get so many comments and questions from young guys who think they need to spar the exact same way that they're going to fight, or they need to dial it back just a little bit, when really they need to dial it back a lot and just focus on being technical and focus on positions and things like that.
Yeah.
And they think, well, how's it going to come out in the fight? How am I going to be powerful in the fight if I'm not powerful in my sparring?
Well, you train power on the heavy bag, first of all.
Exactly.
Right? Also, you can train your power on the pads.
Yes.
With your coach. The speed, movements, it's all the same. If you are training, if you have a good coach and he trains, well, like I was preparing with my friend. He's a boxer. He's also from Georgia. That's the only person from Georgia. Two people from Georgia I know in China. One girl and my boxing coach there, and he was preparing me. And he's really good coach and a boxer, and he prepared me a lot mentally and physically. I was set, you know. Even though there was a kickboxing match, I knew that my kicks are good, but my boxing became much better because of this guy. And we were training a lot, and I was doing a lot of power shots, a lot. I was like, we will start soft, then he will switch, change the pads harder, and then he will get the big pads, and we will just go 5 rounds full speed, full power. That's how you have to train. The people are not your training bags, guys.
Yes, exactly, man. Exactly, man. They're all these young dudes who come to the gym, and it takes them a while. Most people get it after a while, but some of these guys, it takes them a while to figure out when I spar with them for the first time. Like, oh, I'm not getting hurt, not because he can't hurt me, but because he chooses not to.
Yeah.
Oh, light bulb moment. There was a YouTuber, somebody recommended his channel to me. What's his name? He goes by the moniker Mighty Mouse. And I just saw his channel for the first time yesterday. Not Demetrius Johnson. He's this guy. He's covered in tattoos all over. I don't know much about him, but I just saw a couple of his videos where he's sparring boxing. And one, he's sparring with another boxer, and I can see he's pretty technical and fast and powerful, and he seems to know what he's doing. And then this other video, it's like a challenge match. It's like some dude came off the streets, saw his YouTube videos, and challenged him to a fight. So they get in the ring, and it's a very different thing. Instead of lighting this guy up, this Mighty Mouse fellow just sort of touches him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing, like, he's a young man, this guy coming in challenging him, definitely full of pride and all this. And I was very impressed with what Mighty Mouse did in this situation. Like, he was in a position to hurt this young man quite badly, and he chose not to. Instead, he just touched him up until the guy got tired. And once this street boxer got tired, you know, you could see a certain change come over him and a humility come upon him, and I was like, that was really cool. That was so much cooler than it would have been if he just knocked him out.
Yeah.
So, props to Mighty Mouse if he's watching that one. I enjoyed seeing that video. But I wish more guys would spar like that. I really wish they would.
Definitely. Because the most damages happen during the workouts, during the trainings. Like, how many times have you been knocked out during the training? Versus how many times have you been knocked out at professional fights?
In actual fights, man.
Yeah.
I got knocked out in my last professional fight.
Uh-huh.
I got knocked out once in my first pro Muay Thai fight, although it was more of a knockdown.
Mm-hmm.
I got knocked down, and the referee jumped in and stopped it. I wasn't unconscious, but, you know, it was a good call.
Uh-huh.
It was a good call. You know, I was just being outclassed in that fight. But knocked unconscious once. Knocked unconscious in training twice.
Here are the stats.
Yeah.
Right.
So, literally knocked unconscious in training 2 times. Twice as many times as in actual fights. And both times from training partners who just couldn't tell the difference between a fight and a sparring session.
That's the thing. Also, you have a lot taking to yourself because you are a coach and everybody thinks you are good and everybody tries to hurt. I mean, nobody stops because they think, hey, he'll be okay. But I mean, coaches are also people.
Yes. If I get a lot of questions from folks on YouTube saying, I want to start my own gym, I want to be a coach like you, and I'm going to give you some advice. When you're the coach, a lot of people come after you. That puts a target on you.
Yeah.
Because people expect that the coach is going to be the best guy in the room.
Yeah.
They expect he's going to be that wise man from the Chinese kung fu movies who's untouchable, who can beat you anyway with the 5-point exploding heart technique, and so they just try to kill you. And I've experienced this many times. The young guys, especially the young guys, try to murder you.
Right.
I've had so many more intense sparring sessions trying to tame the new guys than anything I ever experienced in the cage, with the exception of having my skull broken open in my last fight.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that story. Not
Like
the best one.
all the cuts, like all the cuts I have on my face, all the scars from cuts over the eyes, that's from training. That's from the new guys flipping out and going nuts and trying to murder me and accidentally headbutting me over the.
I think you have to explain from the very beginning. Like, you have to actually stop people and say,
Yeah, you do.
Okay, you know what? Yeah, I appreciate, but here's the thing.
You've got to be explicit.
I'm not an Iron Man here.
You got to be pretty explicit about your expectations.
Yeah.
There was a new guy came in about maybe 6 months ago, pretty big dude from Russia, and I've trained with a lot of Russians, and there's a certain mentality that I've noticed from dudes from Russia. It's like this very masculine, tough guy type of mindset, and they want their coach to be tougher than them.
Yeah.
Because if their coach isn't tougher than them, why the heck are you going to train with this guy, right?
Yeah.
And so this guy comes in and I explain to everybody, okay, we're going to do some light contact sparring, and I give an example, just tap people with the fist. And as always, I spar with the new guy first because I want to make sure that he's on the same page and he doesn't try to murder the other students. And so I got on the mat with this guy, and he pops a heavy, stiff jab right in my face. I'm like, oh, that's how it's going to be. And then he starts swinging. He's throwing like punches with knockout power behind them. And I'm like, screw this. I don't want to get punched. So I clinch with him and I sweep him because he don't really know how to grapple. I get on top. I put on a Darce choke and I strangle him. And he gets up and he's like, whoa, what was that? I'll show you later. Maybe mellow down a little bit. Relax. And he's like, okay. And then he keeps going, trying to knock my head off. And I can tell he's testing me.
Yeah.
And so I sweep him and I get him on the ground, strangle him a few more times until he gets tired. Because new guys get tired pretty quick. After about a minute and a half, he was done. But afterward, he looks up at me with like this respect in his eyes, like, you have earned my respect. And he never went hard after that, which was so interesting, because even though I told him explicitly, like, tone it down, go light, etc., until essentially I beat him, he wasn't willing to do that.
That's the alpha dominant thing.
Yeah.
Who's the better alpha dominant in the?
Some guys you can tell them and they'll mellow down, and
Yeah.
some guys you have to beat them up a little bit first.
Yeah. See, as a coach, you have a big job to do.
Yeah.
I have this experience of when I was in Bali. I used to train just for myself and with the guys. I used to train my friends. We would just get together and have like boxing class. I was showing them like very basic things. You know how my boxing is. It's not on the good level. So
It's not that bad, Nick.
It's not really
that
bad, but I mean, I'm not a boxing coach and I'm not a pro boxer. I just know some things that I can share with my friends, and I am better than the beginners.
One of the trademarks of a good fighter, very humble.
So basically, and there were a couple, like that happened a couple of times. That happened here and that happened in Bali. There was a big guy, right, and just tried to hunt me down. Like his weight was maybe 90 when I'm 64 now, maybe and a half. And he's around 90 kg, and definitely, like, I'm a better boxer because I understand how to move a little bit. I mean, I can get away, right? I have
still that's not a fun weight difference, man.
Yeah, and then and I have this experience twice when people with no technique, he had terrible footwork. I was teaching him how to step, and I was like, yeah, let's do light sparring, and he was just hunting me down, and to some extent, but whatever, you can be the best boxer in the universe, but you will still eat a shot, for sure, right? And he hit me in body with the amount of power that I was like, dude. maybe we should stop right here, you know.
Yeah.
And then I had a sparring session with my friend who were also doing. He's just started boxing, and he was also working out, and he is a big guy, also around 85 kg, and he understands that he cannot hit me, and he starts going harder on me not because he wants to kill me, but because he thinks that I will get away from every shot, you know. I'm not Muhammad Ali. Yeah. I'm not, and he broke my nose. not he didn't break it, but he hit me in the nose, and I started bleeding, and I was like, dude, I mean, okay, we can spar, but don't kill me, please.
Oh man. Yeah, the illusion of indestructibility that we tend to project on those of us who teach us combat sports. I put out some polls on YouTube the other day asking people. The first one was, is your coach the best fighter at your gym?
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that.
And I think about 30% answered, yes, my coach is the best fighter in my gym, and 70% were like, no. And then I asked, should your coach be the best fighter at your gym? And about 15% said yes, and 85% said no. The reason being, and the reason they gave was, well, the coach should be the best coach. Fighting and coaching are different skill sets.
Yeah, for sure.
And most importantly, in my opinion anyway, the coach's job is to train fighters to win fights.
Yeah.
And so if he's not training guys to be better than him, he sucks at his job.
Right.
But even so, there's a significant percentage of people out there who believe that the coach should be the best fighter and is the best fighter. And there are certain problems that go along with that. One of those is it puts the coach in a very dangerous position a lot of the times.
Right. I mean, definitely, a good fighter is never a good coach. I mean, it's not the case. Can be.
A good fighter has to be very selfish with his time.
Yeah, I mean, he can be a good coach, but
if he dedicates his time to coaching, yeah,
maybe not. I mean, it doesn't. That's not the point where you search for the good coach. And another thing, think about all these champions, world champions, right? And think about their coaches. Have we ever heard of those people on the professional level? I don't think so. But we heard of those people coaching.
Yeah.
Professional sportsmen, right? So the coach of Roy Jones, the coach of Mike Tyson, the coach of Khabib, the coach of whatever, doesn't matter, right? Have we heard of them in professional? Some of them, yes. Some of them.
Yeah, but the average person doesn't know who these guys are.
Yeah, we know them as coaches of these people.
Exactly.
And other people who win fights. So.
And that's how it should be. I mean, there are very few celebrity coaches.
Yeah.
I mean, one prominent example, Greg Jackson, simply because he's coached a long list of UFC champions. And so people start asking, well, wait a minute. This long list of UFC champions all have the same coach. He must be doing something right. Who is it? And so he gets some notoriety. But for the most part, yeah, coaches exist in the background.
Yeah.
And, people on YouTube, they're always questioning authenticity. Like, well, who did you ever coach? And it's like, I could give you names, but you wouldn't know who they are for the most part.
I was coaching Ali and coaching Nick.
I've even worked for the WBC champion, but you've never heard of her.
Yeah.
You don't care. Why does it matter, right?
Oh, WBC champion. Wait.
Sorry, WBO champion.
WBO. What was the name?
Liu Li. Did you ever meet her? She used to train with us at the UFL gym before we changed the name. But yeah, I did strength and conditioning with her.
I don't know. Maybe not.
But name dropping is so dumb, man. It's so dumb. But if you want to market yourself as a coach, sometimes you have to go down that path. At least it seems like you do, because people are always saying, "Well, who did you coach?" And fighters are always wondering, like, who is going to give me the optimal chance of getting into the UFC or making it to ONE FC or winning this next fight that I have coming up. And yeah, man, it's the relationship between a fighter and an athlete works best when it is a long-standing relationship as opposed to, oh, I heard this guy is pretty good. Because that second group, I've had this experience a lot where a guy will come to me 2 weeks before a fight. He's already signed a contract to fight. And he's like, oh, this other gym isn't working out. And I'm like, probably because this guy's a lazy fighter. I'll just put that out there. But he comes to me and he's like, you, different coach that I haven't tried with, fix all my problems. You have 2 weeks, go. And I'm like, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. There's only so much I can offer in 2 weeks' time frame. I mean, fighting and coaching, that's a long-term relationship.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Nick, the first time we met, we sparred. You came to the old JX Fight Club.
Are you gonna put all these videos up?
Maybe, I don't know. We could watch it again if you want. But the first time we met, we sparred, and I asked you a little bit about like what's your background. You said you kickboxed a little.
Yeah, when I was 6 and 7 years
Yeah.
old.
It was, all right,
and
all
then
right,
I
cool.
and then I
Let's
keyed
see
up.
what you can do. And you said, I'm going to kick you. And I was like, all right, cool. So we go out there, and you kick me, and I'm like, oh, he kicked me. A man of his word. I like that. And we played around a little bit, and I remember I even threw one of those Mortal Kombat sweep-looking things at you.
Yeah.
And you had no clue as far as grappling goes. And I was
Yeah.
able to take you down a few times
Yeah.
with a three-quarter Nelson. And the last time we sparred, a few weeks back, last time you were over at the gym, it was a very different situation. I don't think I took you down at all.
No, because I was trying not to go down. I mean,
I even threw my secret weapon, the Imanari roll, at you, and you were like, nope, nope, nope.
Because I knew for sure you're going to take me down, and that's a good training of your takedown
Yeah.
defense.
Exactly. And takedown defense, man, that's such an interesting concept. Takedown defense is basically, one, just always assume the takedowns are on the table, and two, know how to grapple.
Yeah. That's also time your shots.
Yeah.
And most of the good takedowns happen when you shoot first. Be a counter striker. That will help a lot.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is something I think MMA sparring helps amateur boxers and helps amateur kickboxers a lot. And here's why. Because, like you said, they have to time their shots. You can't just punch recklessly and throw wild flurries.
Yeah.
Because if you do that in an amateur boxing match, what happens? The fighters eventually clinch up, and then the referee breaks them apart. But what does that clinch represent in an MMA fight? That clinch represents the better wrestler gets the takedown, dominates on the ground, and TKOs the other guy or submits him. Okay? So when we understand that's what the clinch means, and we take that over to boxing, and we become the guy that cannot be clinched when the other guy wants a break.
Yeah.
And we're able to land shots without the other guy being able to tie us up, we have this huge advantage that didn't exist before. And we go from seeming very amateur, we go from that amateur level to the professional level very quickly.
Yeah, maybe. I was actually clinching a lot during the fight night that we had.
Yeah.
Even though it was kind of illegal. Sorry for that. But
Well, there's the rules, and then there's the rules. All right, the rules state, as far as kickboxing with no clinching, boxing with no clinching, it states no clinching. Okay, but there are different levels of severity. It's not like if you throw an illegal headbutt where you can be disqualified.
yeah.
The consequence for holding your opponent and clinching up is the referee breaks you apart and then says fight. And if you do it persistently, he might wag your finger at you and say no clinching and then say fight. But I've never seen or adjudicated a single fight where the referee issued a penalty for clinching.
Yeah.
Ever. Not once. So, again, there's the rules, and then there's the rules. There's also what's called active clinching, and a lot of people aren't aware of this. You can grab the other guy, you can move him around to a position you want, you can release him, and then you can punch him. What's not allowed is dirty boxing or holding, where
Yeah,
the referee
yeah,
gives you
yeah,
this
yeah.
signal where he grabs his wrist and says, no holding and striking. That's what dirty boxing
Yeah.
is.
In fact, what I was doing at that time, I was just clinching to get away from the body shots,
Yeah.
or headshots. I was just moving him, getting outside of the pocket, and that's
Exactly. And that's perfectly legal. That's fair game.
it. Yeah.
So, man, it's so important to understand the rules. And this is something I always emphasize in the boxing class, and everybody always says, is that legal, coach? I didn't know that was legal. I'm like, of course it's legal. But the rules say no holding. No, the rules say no holding and hitting the guy, no dirty boxing.
Yeah.
The rules do not say you cannot lay a collar tie on the guy, pivot around him, release, and then hit him. For example, if you read Jack Dempsey's book, Championship Fighting, which I'm always quoting, when he talks about the sneaker punch, and this is a very important distinction between hitting on the break. Hitting on the break is where you're clinching, the referee separates you, and before he says fight, you hit the other guy. That's illegal. That's a foul.
Yeah.
That'll come with a severe penalty. But a sneaker punch, that's where you grab the other guy before the referee can come in and separate you and give that command. You break the clinch yourself, and then you hit the guy on your own break. That's perfectly legal. That is fair and legal. And that's good fighting.
Yeah. We have to know rules.
Yeah.
To break it, not to break it correctly, or to break it correctly. I don't know how to say that.
Yeah, before we can break the rules, we have to actually know what they are.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
We have to know what they are. I've seen some nincompoops on the internet yammering about dirty boxing, like, oh, if you do this, then the referee might not see it. Man, if your game plan is dependent on the referee being bad at his job, it's a bad game plan.
Well, definitely, yeah. Just better work on your technique.
Yes. Yes, man. I mean, the rule book of boxing is what, like 3 or 4 pages long? It's not that long. It's not that hard to internalize.
Yeah.
It's not like the IBJJF handbook, which is like 70, 80 pages long now, I think.
What?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing. The International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation rule set is huge. It is a novel.
Wow.
And there are so many ways to get disqualified, and
Because it's there is a lot of things involved. Like they use gi to choke you and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I think But I actually tried BJJ only once in my life, and I was not wearing gi. My opponents were wearing gi.
oh man, so you had an advantage. They probably hated you for that.
Yeah, I think so.
I always hate that when I go to like an open mat where they specifically say this is a gi open mat, so I bring my gi, and I so much prefer no gi to gi. But if people are gonna play in the gi, I'll play in the gi. I'll play by their rules, right?
Yeah.
And then there's that one guy who doesn't bring his gi. He's like, I'll just go no gi today. I'm like, "Argh!"
Asshole.
And then I
Yeah.
take off my jacket, but he starts grabbing my pants anyway. I'm like, "Argh!" This isn't supposed to work this way.
Grab them by the beard.
Grab them by the beard. Yeah, I should do that next time. If they just had beards.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to dedicate my time more to BJJ, but it happens so that the gym I'm going now, they don't have BJJ. But
Right.
I improved a lot in stand-up game, and that's something also, because when I first came to MMA, right, and I started as MMA fighter right away.
Yeah.
And when you build up 4 things, even 5 things at a time, grappling, BJJ, boxing, kickboxing, 4 things, right? It's a lot for a noob.
It can certainly seem that way.
Yeah. But
I think if you start breaking it down into specific techniques, it's overwhelming.
yeah,
This is one of the reasons I like to start new guys out sparring early and often. And I know this upsets a lot of people because they confuse sparring with fighting.
yeah.
But the first time we sparred, your first day at the gym, did you get hurt?
No,
Did you sustain any level of injury at all?
no.
No, right?
No.
And again, that's the level of care that I put into sparring with the new guys, even the crazy, reckless guys that try to kill me, right? So I feel that's very important to do, because then instead of thinking of MMA is this complex setup for the jab, plus this complex setup for a clinch, plus this complex execution of a takedown, plus this complex guard pass. No, just think of it like moving your body from point A to point B.
Yeah.
I'm going to move from here and put him on the ground, beat him up a little bit, and squish him, and then squeeze him until he taps out.
Yeah.
Right? And if you think about it that way, it becomes very simple. And then you start asking questions like, well, how do I get him on the ground and squeeze him more efficiently? Then you're like, okay, now you're asking the right questions. Let's break that down into a technique.
Yeah.
And then another technique.
Yeah.
And it's so much less overwhelming. But
Yeah.
the way martial arts are often taught is, all right, guys, here's a syllabus of the lapel guard and the lasso guard and the butterfly sweep and the pendulum sweep and everything we're going to be doing this month. And you're like, oh, there's so much to jiu-jitsu. And
Yeah.
it's overwhelming. You're like, and then I have boxing and Muay Thai and everything else on top of this. But fighting, we can make it complicated, but it's really not that complicated.
Well, yeah,
It
it depends. It depends on the perspective.
Yeah.
Definitely, because to my experience, because I'm 31 now, right?
Yeah.
And I started when I was 29, and then it was like 5 months in JX or 4 months in JX Club. Then JX Club got closed for 7 months.
Yeah.
Then it reopened. It reopened for maybe 1 or 2 months, and then we moved to EFL.
Yeah.
For maybe 7 months, and then
COVID hit.
And then COVID, and then I came back. I came back 6 months ago. 4 months out of 6 months I'm training. So if you put it all together, my overall experience is maybe a year and a half, and 3 months, 4 months, I don't know, a little bit more than a year. And 1 year out of this time I was an MMA fighter, right? And actually I found myself pretty good on the ground with chokes, because I think it's because of the anthropometry of the body type that I have, because I'm tall and
You're a lanky guy.
skinny, yeah. So I'm good with the Darce choke, and I tried to guillotine you, but failed a couple times. And
you got to watch John Danaher's discourses on finishing the guillotine, man. That's going to fix all your problems. In fact, I could point out a few things right now. So when you tried to guillotine choke me, you ended up on your back.
Yeah.
With the shoulders pinned on the mat.
Yeah.
And you allowed me to get my shoulder in, basically my shoulder to your chest. And so you didn't have the space.
Yeah, I know that. I know.
Choke.
I understand that now, but I didn't understand that back then, because of your posture, and because you postured up, you got your body leveled in like this way.
Yes, so I was able
almost
to
90 degrees angle.
Yes.
And that was the thing. Plus, you are stronger than me. Let's be adequate. I could.
Yeah, there's a serious weight and size and strength advantage there.
So, but anyway, because of my anthropometry, even back a week ago, I when I came to EFL, we had the sparring session with the students. We had MMA sparring.
Yeah.
I choked everybody. Even though I don't remember how to do that, because I don't do jiu-jitsu anymore, but I still choked people because of my anthropometry, because they tried to take me down or clinch with me, and I just have long hands, I have long feet.
And you got those skinny wiry forearms.
In fact, I end up doing a standing guillotine choke. And it was easy for me because my hands are just there, just like leave it out.
Yeah, being a smaller, skinnier, lankier guy with small hands is not always a disadvantage. In fact, as far as like the guillotine choke especially, that's a big advantage. If you have a smaller object to fit through a small hole, that makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you got big, meaty ham hocks for hands and you're trying to fit it through, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. Ever thought about why Charles Olivier always does this Darce choke, or what is it called?
The anaconda?
The anaconda choke. Look at the length of his.
If his arms fit through there.
Yeah. It's just there, Just squeeze it in. That's it. Lay down.
I was taught the Darce and the anaconda by Shane Brunner. Shout out to Shane. He's He's an awesome dude, awesome jiu-jitsu coach. And he's on the shorter end, one of those short, stocky guys. And I remember one day he was getting mad at me a little bit. He was like, dude, if I had those long, lanky arms like you, I would be the Darce Choke champion of the world. That is a gift. You need to learn to appreciate it.
That helps. Definitely. I do agree with him because when I was doing MMA, jiu-jitsu was, for me, the best pick because I don't know, somehow wrestling was the worst for me. I could not just keep going with wrestling.
It's a tough sport.
Yeah, boxing. I'm not shaped for the wrestling, also, you know, but I'm shaped for the jokes. So, but boxing is okay.
Man, he's good at it.
Yeah, boxing was okay. Kickboxing was okay, but kickboxing was not okay. You know why? Because we did a lot of boxing with you, and we didn't. I didn't come to the. Somehow my schedule was the schedule when I was coming more for boxing classes rather than kickboxing classes.
And they have me teaching so many boxing classes over the FL gym now.
Yeah, because it's in a demand, I think so. Yeah. But I was better in boxing, and when I had to fight kickboxing fights, I did not know how to switch from one to another. Upper body and lower body just did not cooperate. And I had to go to this new gym, and even couple. We have a lot of coaches there, and they all teach in a different way. Yeah. One is just nothing. It's just like.
Which gym is it? Is it
It's ringside. The ringside, yeah. Some of them are really good.
Yeah,
some of them
the coaches
are not good at all, if you ask me. But that's life. I mean, you know, that's my preferences.
Is Alexi still there? Ukrainian dude?
No, I train with Mike.
Okay.
Mike is good. I like Mike, but there is another guy. I would not say the name, but he has like I would call that Muay Thai conditioning class. For an hour, we just do punches and kicks and combination. He doesn't explain to new guys how to do that. He just shows it. Okay, that will be a combo. So, uppercut, elbow. You have to repeat. You know how to do that. It's good. You don't know. It's up to you.
Gross repetitions and combinations.
But even that, even these reps helped me to connect. You know, and the way you saw me in a stand-up game is because I just, you know, I had everyday training like that for like 2 months or something. And it's just, you know, I somehow my body was like, okay, if you do 1, 2, it will always end up with a kick. It's natural. It's now it's like 1, 2, 3. It's not only
just
1, 2.
Like what you're gonna do if you throw the 1, 2, a kick's just gonna fall.
Yeah. Or what? I don't think it's just the beginning. The basics are there. I don't feel that my combos are good at all because I just have very, very basic combos. But still, sometimes my body throws something unconsciously. Yeah. Like if I start with the kick, if I miss, I would just extend my arm and do a spinning kick, spinning punch, right?
Okay,
back
like
fist.
Spinning back fist. Okay.
Yeah, or something like that. Or I would cover up. So there are things that, you know, and think about it. It's just drills, repetitive movement of unconscious repetitive movement. You just do things, repeat it, and then you end up in the fight or you spar, and those are there. They're like mechanics are there, and that's. I think that is the biggest disappointment of people who first start. They start and they know, like, they've been there for a month or two. They know the technique. Mm-hmm. When they are not fighting, they are okay with that. But when they are in the fight, they have to think about how to do this drill. They will be like, okay,
and if you're thinking you're not fast enough,
the hook is coming. So now I have to duck under and then do no. It should be.
It's not automatic.
Yeah, it should be automatic thing.
Okay.
And
so you feel like those gross repetitions of combinations just made it more permanent and automatic.
Yeah, I think so.
That's interesting as you were describing it, because I've trained a lot of different ways, and I go through these cycles of what I feel is useful for me at certain times. Like I went through years where I never even touched a heavy bag. And it might seem kind of counterproductive, like, why wouldn't I hit a heavy bag? And it's because in that time of my life, I didn't need it. I needed something else. I needed to train in different ways. But then after that, I went back to the heavy bag and started training differently with the heavy bag. And at times in my life, I didn't use pad work at all, and sometimes in my life, I used pad work excessively. And at certain times in my life, I used certain strength and training regimens excessively, and sometimes not at all. And yeah, they're just different moments, different methods that speak to different people at different times.
I think so, yeah. Also there is a question of your level at that time.
Yeah.
Right? Because for the beginners, something works better.
Yeah, exactly.
For
intermediates,
intermediates,
you got to learn how to move first, like we were talking about before. Got to learn how to make a fist and all those things.
Also, we are very different, even though we all have hands and head and body. We are there are a lot of different approaches in every sphere. Like you can teach physics differently or music differently, and the outcome will be good for both. But some people are more. They can remember visual things. Some people have to write down things to remember. For example, right? I'm talking about methodology of learning process, right? And also in martial arts, I think something works better for. If that works better for you, I think just go for it.
Yeah.
Pads work for me very well. When I repeat the same things with the coach on the pads, that's where I improve a lot, like a lot of reps.
Yeah.
I saw myself improving just in 10 days of repetitive pad working, and that was enough for me to be really on the good, on okay level to compete in the match.
Yeah, a good pad holder.
Yeah.
Can go a very, very long way.
Yeah.
A bad holder can set you back a lot, though.
Yeah, but if it's a coach who is at that moment training you, that is the best choice, I think. Bag work, heavy shots, yes, okay. I can understand heavy shot, but I don't like bag work as well. Bag work, I hurt my fist on my wrist on bag.
Yeah.
And that is bad thing for the musician to get hurt.
Yeah, that's something I wanted to talk to you about. So you're a musician, and this is a question I get constantly from other musicians and people who do fine motor movement with their hands for their work, which is, I want to do a combat sport, but I'm afraid I'm going to hurt my hands or my throat or my mouth or just some part of my body that I really need to do my job. How much of a concern is this for you, and how do you deal with it?
My thumb still hurts over here from the fight. My wrist still hurts a little bit, and but I'm not concerned about that because that was because I was preparing for the fight, and I don't think I'm gonna fight for now. Like it was just TJ texted me.
Yeah.
I never thought I'm gonna go for a competition, or I'm gonna do a fight night or whatever. So I was like, okay, I always wanted to do. That will be a nice thing in the resume.
Take it off the bucket list.
But actually, if I start competing, then I don't think I can combine those two things, because if you want to be a musician, professional musician, I'm a professional musician, and you want to be a professional fighter, I don't think that's gonna work out. You can train full time, no worries, but you have to choose your opponents wisely. Sparring partners, you have to trust them, and also you try to go not so hard on the backs, and that's it. Basically, that's it. Don't go too hard on people so people don't go hard on you, and you don't have to break your fingers and wrists and jaws and everything.
Yeah.
And also, it is okay. It is not shame to say, "Hey, you are going too hard. I don't want to spar with you." That's it. A lot of times people take it very personally, very alpha dominantly, as I told you before, because it's like, I'm not a pussy. I'm gonna fight this guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna prove that I'm. Dude, you don't have to prove anything. If you are a confident person, just.
You just answered like 500 comments that I've gotten the last 2 months along those lines. Coach, what do I do when this big mean guy punches me too hard when I spar at the gym? And that's the answer. Just tell him no.
Yeah. Tell no. If the big guy doesn't understand, just stop and go away. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't have to destroy yourself just because of some douchebag who doesn't understand what is respect.
Yeah, but it's so hard for a young man with the young man's ego to understand this, though.
It is, and it is always also a way for the martial artist to be, more self-confident. If you are a self-confident martial artist and a person, your ego will drastically drop, and you have to understand that you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to prove to the world that you are the best in every aspect. First of all, you are not, and maybe in some aspects you are the best. But even if you are the best, then you should be very confident in yourself that you are the best. You know that. Why should you prove it wrong to everybody else? No need. The sparring, first of all, we are doing martial arts, at least me, for pleasure. I enjoy doing that. I do not enjoy when I cannot sit or stand because my ankle hurts, or because I twisted my arm or leg, or I have a big bruise under my butt because of the kicks. And I used to have that, and I don't enjoy it because it's painful. It's painful. Did I win the fight? Maybe. But the next day, it's painful. I don't want to. So,
Man, if you're getting paid handsomely for that, that's one thing. But if that's the result of going to the gym for recreation, that's stupid. Just going to put that out there. That's just plain stupid.
Yeah.
And finger injuries are the most common injuries in all combat sports, by far.
For sure.
And so when you came over today, you were looking at my guitars, and I told you I haven't really played them much in the last few years, and one of the big reasons is jiu-jitsu. So I don't have the worst case of jiu-jitsu knuckles yet, like some guys I know, but my knuckles have definitely swollen, and I've lost a lot of finger speed. I mean, I can still play, but it costs me a little bit. It's not as easy as it used to be.
Yeah.
And I know some guys say, "Oh, it hasn't affected me at all." Well, it's affected me. And to tell people that combat sports come with zero risk to your fingers, that's just blatantly irresponsible.
No. But anyway, if you trust your partners, your coach, yourself, everything gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Even if you're playing soccer, even if you're doing any kind of activities,
yeah, true.
You can injure yourself. You are not protected from anything. It's just drop it to minimum by try your best not to increase the chances of getting hurt. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all you can do.
Come to think of it, I've also experienced probably the most extreme finger injuries in my life from playing basketball, and I don't even play basketball that often.
Yeah. When the ball hits you.
Yeah, when the ball
like
comes
that.
up, where people are trying to steal it, or you're trying to get the ball away, and you just jam the fingers. There's so many basketball-related finger accidents that can happen.
Hate basketball because of that.
But nobody really thinks of that going into a game of basketball. They're like, "Oh, we're just going to shoot some hoops. Nobody's going to die." And then you take an elbow to the jaw, and your finger gets sprained. And
oh, yeah. Actually, basketball is more trauma. Now I realize that. I used to play a lot of basketball when I was 15, 16 years old. And that is much more traumatic to the fingers, because I used to play guitar back then as well, and I remember how.
I think a big part of it is that you're not expecting violence going into a game of basketball, even if you've had it before, right? You go into a cage fight expecting violence 100% of the time, and so you prepare yourself for it, and you intelligently defend yourself against the violence. But basketball, we go in there thinking we're gonna have fun. And then
you
boom! Small joint manipulation.
After the game.
Exactly. What happened to my hands?
For sure. That's how basketball is. Hey, it's a violent sport. It's a bloody sport.
It's like my daughter comes up to me sometimes and punches me in the guts when I'm not expecting it. I'm like, oh, what'd you do that for? And she's like, you're supposed to be a tough fighter. I wasn't ready.
Yeah. Also, I'm not a basketball player. I'm not that tough.
So, yeah, you got to pick your battles with martial arts. You've got to choose your sacrifice, essentially. You can't do it all. This reminded me of, like, when I was getting ready for my last fight, I remember thinking, like, my whole fighting career, I've always been working multiple jobs. Like, I worked 3 jobs simultaneously while I was fighting pro during most of my pro fighting career. A lot of people don't know this. A lot of young guys with stars in their eyes send me letters and emails saying, yeah, I'm going to get some sponsors, then be a full-time fighter and just train. I'm like, who's going to sponsor you for that? Like
McDonald's.
Yeah, even like to this day, most guys in the UFC, at least the guys on the undercard, those guys are working full-time jobs to support their fighting, not the other way around. And I was working 3 jobs.
Sorry for it. There was a Joaquin Buckley. He's still working in a drugstore.
Yeah.
And
this is not uncommon.
Yeah. And we know him. I know his name.
Yeah.
So that means that...
A known fighter, a name that Nick knows.
Yeah. Yeah,
this is not uncommon. But yeah, I remember thinking, like, I'm in a position in life where I'm working one side job right now. I was working at a university teaching some classes over at Shanghai Normal University. And I was also teaching ballroom dance classes on the side, and I was like, I've just got too much on my plate. I want to focus as much on fighting as I can. I want to be one of those selfish fighters. I want to push myself to the next level. So I remember feeling like I have to cut something out, so I cut out the ballroom dance classes, which I enjoyed teaching dance. I have a dance degree. My students enjoyed it. They were very sad that the class ended, but at the same time, it was like, I need this to get to that next level. Unfortunately, I didn't get to that next level because the dude broke my skull. But
that happens. You got a better gig. You're a coach, and that matters.
Yeah, but you gotta choose your sacrifices. It's not about making time.
Yeah.
It's about making cuts.
Yeah. Also, you have to realize what could be potential future for you. Like, think about it. It could play out well, but it might also not. So,
indeed, man, there's so much wisdom in learning to cut unnecessary things from your life to prioritize good and better and best, and cut out the good and cut out the better and focus on the best. Because when you do that, then we start to see the results that we really want, as opposed to thinking, why not me? Why can't I have the that championship that I want, or this happiness I think I deserve, right? We're going into the motivational speech territory here, I guess, but it's true, though, and it's true with most aspects of life. Like, look at video editing, for example. You spend all this time filming these beautiful shots, trying to put together the best YouTube video you can, and you want to put in all the beautiful shots. But what's the average attention span of somebody watching a YouTube video? Any idea?
No, go ahead.
It's like 30 seconds or less. And then they click on the next one.
YouTube, really?
YouTube, yeah. Meaning, the vast majority of people who are watching this video have not got to this point, and the few of you who stuck around are going to hear some gems of wisdom dropped on you here. But
a bonus.
Yeah, you don't have time to just throw out the most beautiful shots and all these all these video clips that you spent so much time and energy and resources catching on film. You got to sacrifice most of that and focus on just that one little clip that is going to garner the most attention if your goal is get the most clicks and get the most views. If you don't care about that, sure, show whatever you want. Make a 2-hour podcast if you really want. But we're on 2 hours and 4 minutes so far.
2 hours. Oh my God.
2 hours and 4 minutes so far. But if you want to keep attention, yeah, you got to choose your sacrifices. But this is a parable for life, guys. Video editing on YouTube, keeping attention on YouTube, it's a parable for life. Choose your sacrifice. So if you're a musician and you want to be the best musician, focus on that.
Yeah.
If I'm not saying don't do other things, don't dabble in combat sports. Yeah. You should definitely be a well-rounded
But do that
person.
wisely. Do that wisely, for sure.
Yeah. But it's very difficult to be a professional athlete and a professional musician. Although Rod Stewart did it.
Rod Stewart?
Rod
Really?
Stewart, yeah.
What was he doing?
You know Rod Stewart, the rock star?
Oh, yeah, of course, but
He
I
was
don't
a
know.
professional soccer player, professional football player for
Really?
the Scottish national team.
Really?
Yeah. He's one of those rare human. I don't think he did them both at the same time. I think he started his rock career after
That would make sense.
soccer, but I guess he probably
would make sense.
played music before that. But
yeah,
he's one of those rare human beings who was able to be a professional in two radically different things and succeed wildly.
Of course you can, but you know, still think about it twice.
But that's the exception, not the norm. There's only one Rod Stewart out there.
Yeah. But that he shows us that nothing is impossible. So.
And there's only one Nick Aliev right here.
Yeah.
Did I say it right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Perfect.
For once, finally.
Perfect.
All right, Nick. We're
2
at
hours,
the
5
2
minutes.
hour and 6 minute
6 minutes.
mark right here, so it's about time to wrap up this podcast. Anything else you would like to say to the folks at home out there in YouTube land before we call it a day?
I don't know. I would say people who are watching it would be people who love martial arts. So the message from the martial arts lover, just everything that we do, as long as you're enjoying doing it, is good. Keep on doing that. Don't go crazy. As long as you don't hurt somebody's feelings and don't hurt somebody else on purpose without the agreement from the other side. I'm not talking about the fights, because the fight is an agreement from the both sides. But simply don't be assholes.
Yeah.
Be good people and enjoy what you do.
Actually, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about, since you were talking about not hurting other people and so on. You mentioned the other day you were a long-term vegetarian. You had a plant-based diet for how long? 5, 6 years now?
6. Now 6. It's almost 6
years. And this is interesting to me because I haven't met a lot of people who are long-term plant-based diet people. Or do you consider yourself a vegan or a vegetarian? Or?
No, I used to be pescatarian because I used to eat fish, but I stopped. I stopped eating fish as well. But I do eat eggs. I eat cheese.
So ovo-lacto-vegetarian. Okay.
Yeah, something. It's also labeling. I just don't eat meat. I don't eat fish. That's
okay. Cool. And that's interesting, particularly in China, because what a lot of folks outside of China may not realize is that eating a plant-based diet in China, especially if you're eating out at Chinese restaurants, can be really, really difficult.
Oh, you cannot imagine, man. Cannot imagine.
Well, you don't think about it until you go out to eat with a vegetarian. My older brother, Joseph, he lives in Thailand. He went through a vegetarian phase for a few years. And every time he would come to visit, we'd go to restaurants and try to find some vegetarian dishes.
So you know how it is.
Is there much meat in the vegetables? Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Is there any meat in the bread? Just a little bit.
Yeah.
There's like meat in the bread. There's meat in the vegetables. There's meat broth.
Yeah.
Everything's.
Yeah. Everything
So
is boiled in a meat broth and
it's a
stuff
vegan
like that.
nightmare, basically.
Yeah, it is. Japan, China. I haven't been to Korea, but Japan and China are vegan nightmares.
So what is it like for you, living a plant-based diet in China? Because I've had a few folks ask me this question before.
I get used.
I'm not a plant-based person, but
I get used to it. And my wife takes care of me. Sometimes she cooks some good meals, but we both work full time, and we have our own projects to do. So cooking is not a big thing. So most of the times there would be I just have restaurants and places where I would have my dishes that I know and that I pick almost every day. I don't care much about what I eat. I'm not like crazy food lover and stuff. I'm not like, oh, this is so delicious, we have to. I'm cool.
So basically, if you're a vegan foodie, you're gonna have a hard time in China. But if you're not too particular, you'll be okay.
Yeah, but this year when I came back, I changed my diet, and I started eating a lot of nuts, a lot of avocado, a lot of vegetables, and a lot of sesame oil, olive oil, and things like that.
And it used to be so hard to find avocados here in China.
Yeah, but now it's...
There was like one lady who they'd call her the avocado lady. She was like the only source of avocados in the whole city, but now you can find them everywhere.
Yeah. Since we call it Laowai stores, the small food outlets that sell every kind of things from Belgium, from Ukraine, from Eastern Europe, from Western Europe, from Australia.
Yeah, there's something really interesting about Shanghai that I didn't realize before I got here, is they have all these like for Americans who live in, say, Los Angeles or San Francisco, they got like their Chinatowns over there. Here in Shanghai, like on this side of town, there's the Koreatown. Like I live more toward the Koreatown side of
the kimchi town.
Yeah, there's like the Japan town area, but Koreatown's pretty extensive over here in Minhang.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge.
And they've got the French concession, and they've got the just certain cultural enclaves that exist within this huge Chinese city.
Yeah, and with these stores, it's much easier to find good olives, good cheese, good. I eat a lot of beans. That's my diet. Nuts, beans, things like that. There are a lot of vitamins in them. And seafood I replace with the seaweed.
Okay, interesting.
People used to ask me, do I feel any changes when I, giving up meat? I do not really. I don't because, I don't like propaganda and stuff, and I never push any. My wife eats meat.
Yeah, like I had no idea you had a plant-based diet until like a week ago.
Yeah, right.
Like generally, like every vegan friend I have ever, like I know instantly they're a vegan because they'll wear that on their sleeve and advertise it.
Vegan.
When you told me that you've been living a predominantly plant-based diet for like 6 years, I was like, really? And you've never mentioned it once?
Yeah.
This whole time?
See, yeah. Yeah, I don't like people propaganding that, because that's my own choice, and I think I have my own reasons to do that, right?
Yeah.
I can tell you if you ask me, right? But I won't be like, you eat meat, I'm better than you because you eat meat and I don't. No. I'm telling you, my wife eats meat almost every day, and we live together for 11 years, and we're totally fine. And and I never push anybody to do anything. And there is one thing when vegans or anti-vegans would be like, yeah, but I changed my diet and I feel so much better. I'm so much powerful, or the other way,
People get religious about diet.
Yeah.
It's weird.
I don't feel better or worse. I just feel fine both ways. Why am I so skinny? I used to be skinny when I was eating meat as well. So don't blame me. I mean, now I'm 60. In fact, I was 62 and a half going into the fight 3 weeks prior. Okay. And I started training every day, and I gained 2.5 kg going into the fight. Just eating beans. So you can gain weight just eating oatmeal and bananas and stuff like that. natural proteins. I mean, plant-based proteins also could be a choice for you. Eggs, okay, if you eat eggs. So, and I don't feel any changes. I mean,
well, there you go, man. If it gives you the result you want, that's the right way.
yeah.
And people are always asking me for dietary advice, and I'm not a dietitian, so I generally stick to, if it grows out of the earth or has a mother, consider eating it. If it does not grow out of the earth, if it does not have a mother, if it has a crazy polysyllabic scientific name and was developed in a laboratory somewhere, maybe don't eat it.
Try and see how it works for you. And then maybe give it up.
So, yeah. Well, awesome, Nick. Thank you so much for coming and being on the Ramsey Dewey podcast number 30-something. And
I like the name.
Awesome.
Thank
Good
you,
to have
Ramsey.
you here. And for the folks at home watching, thank you for watching. Now get out there and train.